Hey everyone, welcome to the Pat Mayo Hour UFC Fight Night Krakow from Poland.
Look at the enthusiasm. I like it.
In studio with me, host of the Bookie Beatdown on Fight and Fantasy Sports Network, Cody Safik, the man who's going to bring the real analysis because once again, I don't know much about the old MMA. However, I do know about the daily fantasy game and not so much about pronouncing people's names. Where are these cards in Poland? I feel like this is rigged against me.
Oh, you know what? If you had trouble pronouncing names to begin with, then this is definitely going to be you in your element.
So let's see. From last time, I was at 44%. The mispronunciation counter is now 34 of 77. Exactly the same. Still 44%. So that's not bad. I feel like I'm at least, consistent, if nothing else.
You're trending. You're trending around the same.
Yes, and so I guess I should let people know that every time that I do incorrectly pronounce a name, you'll hear that sound. Yeah, it's never good, but, people seem to like it. All right, so let's get to this. So DraftKings Kountermove scoring, the salary cap for DraftKings, obviously $50,000 for Kountermove, $25,000 on DraftKings this week. There is no real-time scoring.
I noticed that.
So you will not be able to see the results until after the card is finished, probably because it's in Poland and they don't have the internet or something.
I think it's a direct indication of how poorly received this card is that they are not doing live scoring.
Is that a thing? Like no one cares?
It is. Well, a lot of people have complained about the card being that the headline is great because it's a bit of a nostalgia factor, but the rest of the card is a little bit on the softer side, and for that reason, a lot of people have, they've been against this card. So when I saw the DraftKings was not doing live updates, to me that was an indication of, and they even said it in there, they said the provider that DraftKings goes with will not be doing it. So those people are probably, listen, man, we're not doing it. We're not doing it.
All right, so you're here to break down the fights, tell me who's actually going to win, but I've noticed a few weird pricing between the two sites compared to the odds, and I want to get to that first. And here's the first one. Gareth McClellan.
Nailed it.
Yeah. Oh, got it. Versus Bartosz Fabinski. He sounds like Soda Popinski from Punch-Out. Either way, here's the thing. So on DraftKings, McClellan is $9,200, and on Kountermove, he's the most expensive player at $5,500. However, it's flip-flop between the two sites. But then I look at the odds, McClellan's even, and it's minus 130 for Fabinski. So one of these two guys is going to be an extreme value on one of the sites. Now, I guess my question is, which one's it going to be?
I actually went with McClellan. He is on a 6-fight winning streak right now. 5 of those 6 fights coming by way of finish. So we talk about it all the time. That's what you want, is you want the finish. Other thing he has going for him is that Fabinski is a late replacement. So McClellan getting ready for a fight, Fabinski coming in late notice. Other thing he's got going for him is that Fabinski is a natural 170-pounder. His last fight, in which he won a split decision against an Estonian fighter.
Ooh, Estonia.
An Estonian fighter has never fought in the UFC, so maybe that just goes to show you the level of Estonian MMA currently. Not to say it won't get better down the road.
Sounds like you're saying that.
Exactly, but Fabinski's a guy that at 170 pounds wasn't a world beater by no means. Now he's actually moving up to 185 pounds because of the short notice of it. So if you're going with Gareth McClellan, you're getting the bigger guy who's got a full training camp, who has a history of finishing fights. To me, that's the bet. Now, as you mentioned, for Kountermove, expensive.
He's the most expensive player.
Expensive. And for
so
that
he's a
reason,
stay away.
Avoid him on Kountermove. But for DraftKings,
he's a must play. He's like the must play.
Sense. It really does make sense.
Now, how close is this? Is it close at all, this fight? I mean, it says even odds minus 130. So would you then say on Kountermove, hey, I'm going to go the other way and maybe get some value there?
This is a tough fight just because you don't really know a whole lot about both guys. In Brzezinski, you have it's like, okay, what do I really know about him? Not much. He's coming on short notice. I haven't really seen much tape on him.
Hometown guy, I'm guessing.
Hometown guy, and that's the biggest factor for him, is that, maybe he'll get a hometown decision. But unfortunately, if you're playing Kountermove or DraftKings, you don't really care about the decision as much as you care about the finish. What you're looking for is a finish. So with Gareth McClellan, he seems to be the safer guy to get the finish. But once again, you've got a fighter who comes from South Africa, and South Africa, another country not known for high level of MMA.
Also, South Africa, well known as being the actual accent I do when I try to do an Australian or British accent.
It's funny you say that. A friend of mine, he goes, I do the best Australian accent,
but it's probably South African.
So he walks up to this person, we're at a club, he walks up to this person, and he starts just going off in Australian. And the guy's laughing. The guy looks over at me and goes, I can't handle these South Africans, mate. And I'm thinking, no, he's just an English kid. But I think when people try to do Australian, it sounds a little South African.
The next price flip-flop I'm going to see here is Sheldon Westcott versus Pal Pavlik.
Pawlak. You really masked it there because I'm not really sure what you're trying to say, but
I'm just gonna slur it together so it sounds reasonable.
But Pawlak.
So on DraftKings, it's 9,000 for Pawlak, and then it's 10,400 for Westcott, and then it's flipped. It's not 4,900 to 4,700. So again, one of these guys is going to be a supreme value on one of the sites. Which one is it?
This one is another strange one. Sheldon Westcott, when he beats you remarkably fast. If you look at his career before signing with the UFC, he's got wins in as little as 13 seconds. He's got wins in as little as 28 seconds. When he went in the Ultimate Fighter, he smashed everybody in around that minute mark. In the finals, he fought your friend there, Elias Theodorou.
And lost.
Yeah, and lost at 185 pounds. So now he's realized, okay, I'm too small to blow out the bigger guys. I want to come down to 170 pounds. So that's going to be very important for him. The issue is, as we've seen with Elias, if he does not blow you out of the water extremely fast, he gets very, very tired. Because it's very exerting when you just full steam ahead try to smash somebody. It tires you out. So the aim here is Sheldon Westcott is the perfect daily fantasy player because he looks to blow you out very fast. The flip side to that is if he does not blow you out fast,
he's going to lose.
He's so tired that he himself will get taken out in the second or third round. So this one's very iffy to me. I went Sheldon Westcott because I think he's going to get that. And on Countermove at 4,700,
that's the thing.
That was good value.
Did you get him on both, or did you just get him on
Countermove?
All right,
so that's too expensive on the DraftKings. I wasn't fully feeling it in the event that he tires out.
All right, so I can get behind that. The other fight was, where is it? It was something like Erica Badu. Let me find it here. Where's that
Erica.
fight? All right, we got Alexandra Albu versus Isabella Bedurek.
Surprisingly, you have Isabella Bedurek. And
I'm killing these names today.
I'm surprised.
I'm on a 6-name streak.
I'm actually surprised here because I thought that you'd be having a hell of a time, but you got some easier ones here. With Albu, she only has one pro fight. She's actually a Russian
1-0. I saw that.
Russian fitness model.
Ooh.
If you've seen pictures of her, some people think she's gorgeous. In the face, kind of lacking a little bit, but that's...
Well, she does get punched in the face for a living.
Only one time.
That's true.
But she's supremely jacked. The thing with her is that she's a natural 135-pounder coming down to 115 pounds.
Is that good or bad, though?
Well, it's a 20-pound weight cut, and you never know how that's going to factor somebody. Now, on the flip side of that, Isabella Bedurek, her last fight, she weighed in at 143 pounds. So now she's coming out 28 pounds to cut. That's a lot. So this fight here is largely a pass to me because I need to see them step on the scale first. I don't know that either girl's going to make weight. I don't know that the UFC maybe made a mistake. Maybe this fight's not 115. Maybe it was supposed to be 135. And because it's such a flying under the radar card that maybe they don't even know.
No one noticed?
Apparently nobody knows. So this is the type of fight that I'm either going to pass or I'm going to wait until I see them on the way.
Well, here's the thing. On DraftKings right now, they're about even, 9,600 and 9,800. However, on Countermove, Bedurek, 5,000, and we have Albu at 46.
Yeah.
So there is going to be value on one of these two. If you had to just straight up coin toss, let's say they both make weight. Which one is it?
Albu. I say Albu because, as I mentioned, she's a Russian fitness model, but it goes beyond just looking good for pictures. This girl is extremely, and I mean extremely strong. Now, yes, she's only had one fight, but if you watch that fight, it is like a full-grown adult fighting a small child. She grabs this girl. She whips her to the ground. She mounts her. She pounds her. She absolutely beats her pillar to post and then finishes in the first round. So we only have a small, pint-sized taste of what she's capable of, but it was impressive. And she got the first round finish. That's what we want. With Bedurek, 5-2, she's lost fights. She's won fights. All 5 of her wins.
Really? You can glean that from the record? She's won some and lost one?
she's
With a
won
5-2
some,
record?
she's lost some. All 5 of her wins are against opponents who have never fought before.
Okay.
So if you're drawing on she's got more experience, really, she doesn't. She has more experience that she's fought more, but she does not have more experience that she's fought in better level of opponents. So for that reason, Albu has more value for me. And seeing her first and only fight, she's very tense because she has so much muscle, but when she has a judo background, she will toss you to the ground and she will absolutely pound you out. So I see the better value with Albu, but I got to see the weigh-ins first.
Okay. Let's move to the main event. Gabriel Gonzaga versus Mirko Filipovic.
Yes, Filipovic.
Boom! Hammering this!
Surprising me. You even got the nicknames.
Well, I had that one written down. Krokop's not that difficult to pronounce.
You know what that stands for?
No.
He's a Croatian cop.
Oh, okay.
He used to be anyways.
Not anymore. Now he's a UFC fighter.
Now
apparently.
he's 40. Now he's fighting.
Been
fighting for a while.
The odds on DraftKings are a bit skewed.
Yes.
Gonzaga is a heavy favorite on DraftKings. On Countermove, they're relatively even. So are a lot of people going to be focusing on this one fight because they have a good feeling about it either way?
I think people focus on this fight for a number of reasons. The primary reason being that they don't recognize the other names on the card. So if you're a very casual fan and you click on here, you're going to look at the lineup and you're going to say, you know what? I don't really care about Albu. I don't really care about Sergio Moraes. I don't really care about some of the people on this card. Michael Laboute. I don't know these
Michael Laboute.
Laboute. He's French.
Oh, from France!
From France.
Does he come to the octagon smoking the long cigarette?
Well, MMA is actually illegal in France, so you got to go somewhere to smoke the long cigarette. You got to love these guys. But for a lot of casual fans, they don't know these guys. They know Gabriel Gonzaga. They know Mirko Krakow. These guys have fought before, 8 years ago, but they have fought before. He was entertaining the first time around. They've both had illustrious careers in their own right. So I think a lot of people put a lot of stock on that, and they want to bet this. The last time they fought, Gabriel Gonzaga kicked Mirko Krakow in the head, knocked him flush out cold in the very first round. So for that reason, I think a lot of people want Gabriel Gonzaga. They think history will repeat itself. And that is the reason he's so expensive on DraftKings. This is a fight I think he's going to get the finish again, not necessarily in the first round, maybe within the first 3 rounds. Maybe a little too expensive for DraftKings on Kountermove. You can fit it in a little better, but you got to be wary of the value anyways.
Okay, yeah, so $5,300 on Kountermove seems like a pretty reasonable price considering he's not the most expensive player, and you do think that he can get a finish. Where are the other finishes coming from on this card?
Sergio Moraes against Michael Laboute. I don't think Michael Laboute's in for an easy night here.
Now, is this just you picking on French people, or like is this guy going to surrender before the fight starts?
Well,
like you do in blackjack?
I like French fighters. I very much do. J'aime parler du français aussi, tu sais ça, Patrick? But all those things aside, Michael Laboute is in very, very tough here. Strictly being because he's a little bit of a grappling ace in his own right with 6 submission wins. He's taking this fight very short notice. And I mean, you've got Sergio Moraes, who's supposed to get ready for Ghassan Umlatov. Umlatov pulls off, he gets a replacement opponent. The replacement opponent pulls off, he ends up with Michael Laboute. Michael Laboute likes to grapple. That is a terrible idea against Sergio Moraes. I think Sergio not only gets the finish, I believe he gets the finish in the first or second round. Therefore, he is very valuable to me. I have him on both Kountermove and DraftKings.
He's a very expensive player on DraftKings, $11,300, $5,400 on Kountermove, but that's where you're going to shift all your money towards.
We talk about it all the time.
I mean, you need to have core players on each of your team, so he's your core player.
Yes. When you look at the card, it says, okay, who are the people that I really, really, really think will get that finish? Sergio is above all the top person that jumps up at the list. And if you like betting, just straight betting, a minus 400, but he's moved up from minus 360, still really isn't that bad. He should be a lock.
For a guy who's a guaranteed win, you're saying?
Guaranteed win. It's a lot like a couple fights a couple weeks ago, Gilbert Burns. He's losing, but he's so much better on the ground. It's a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. He will get you to the ground, and when he does, there's just not a whole lot you can do about it.
Any more quick fight potential?
Yes, Danny Omalanchuk. He's fighting Anthony Hamilton. These are 2 heavyweights, and with heavyweights, you never know what to expect. Now, the flip side to that is, well, Omalanchuk went the decision in his last fight. Anthony Hamilton has been 5 rounds in his career. Maybe this one's just a complete dud. I don't see it playing that way. Anthony Hamilton gets tired very quickly. Omalanchuk, the hometown guy in Poland, spent a lot of his camp up at American Kickboxing Academy with Cain Velasquez, with Daniel Cormier, with Luke Rockhold, Khabib Nurmagomedov, some of the best guys. So I think he'll be in great shape. And Anthony Hamilton, not saying he won't be in good shape, but my God, does this guy get tired fast. I think he gets knocked out probably in the second round. And so for that reason, the Polish Daniel Omalanchuk.
So Omalanchuk only $4,900 on Kountermove.
Which I like, I really do.
So he has to be on the Kountermove team. Do you spend the money on him, $10,100 on DraftKings as well?
I do. And as I mentioned, it's when you look at the card and you think, okay, the number one thing I'm looking for is finishes. I want guys that I'm comfortable will get that finish. He's one of those guys I'm comfortable gets the finish. Sergio, also a guy that I'm comfortable gets the finish. So if you load them up on both teams and one of them loses, you think to yourself, I screwed up one of my teams. But I'm confident in saying that I think both these guys do good. I think they score well, and for that reason, I'd like to have them on both DraftKings and Kountermove.
Okay, so how about this fight here? Seth Baczynski versus Leon Edwards.
Well, you got Leon Edwards right, but it's Seth Baczynski.
Damn it!
The Polish Pistola, fighting out of Apache Junction, Arizona.
That's not good. Anyway, so $9,500 and $9,900, that's not a big gap. But on Kountermove, Edwards is $5,100. The guy whose name I can't pronounce will not try again. Is only $4,500.
It's funny you notice that, and I actually took Seth Baczynski for $4,500 simply because this is a very close fight. Seth Baczynski's fought some of the best guys. He's fought Mike Pierce. He's fought Thiago Alves. He's fought Matt Brown. He's fought good guys.
Hey, I remember Matt Brown. Didn't he get his ass kicked like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, he scored very little for us against
Yeah,
Johnny
he did not do well.
But Johnny Hendricks, one of the best guys. So just to show you that Matt Brown now fighting the best guy, Seth Baczynski, curtain jerking on a free fight in Poland. So that's just kind of how both their careers went. But nonetheless, Seth Baczynski, who actually had beaten Matt Brown with a guillotine choke, is a very talented guy in his own right. Leon Edwards looked like a dud in his first fight in the UFC. He just did not look good. So now I know he's improving, training with a better camp. But $4,500, I can't overlook that. I like Seth Baczynski.
And that saves you so much money to load up on these top guys, too.
Yes. If you're the type of person who likes to play multiple lineups, then Seth Baczynski is definitely a guy that you put on a couple of those to fit out other guys.
How about Damian Stasiak? Is he Sean Stasiak, Meat's brother?
I made that joke the other day, and nobody got it.
Well, I would have got it.
Everyone was like, who is Sean Stasiak?
Oh, I'm going to try this one, too. Yeltsin Meza.
Yeltsin Meza.
Boom.
Yeah, and he's actually an American guy.
What?
Yeah, I know. Training out of Arizona.
All right.
MMA lab.
All right, so Stasiak is the favorite in this by a bit of a larger margin on DraftKings than Kountermove, but you look at the fight, like the odds, minus 135 for Stasiak. So this is a pretty even fight, at least in terms of all the numbers that I'm seeing. Do you feel very good one way or the other?
Well, it seems like that the move here is that they want Stasiak to win this fight. He's the Polish fighter. He's fighting Yeltsin Meza, who literally has fought he's fought in a lot of good guys in his career, but has never beaten any of those good guys. So this screams setup fight for Stasiak.
Okay.
The only small issue here is that Meza is notoriously kind of hard to put away. His last two fights, he fought very good guys, albeit he did not get finished by those guys. So if you were looking for strictly, I want the finish, maybe Stasiak's not that guy.
Okay, that's fair. And he's very expensive. I mean, he's over $10,000 on DraftKings, so...
I noticed that, and it was
if you're going to go up that high, you want to get guys who can finish.
If you're going to pay that much, you absolutely want it. And that's when you mentioned, well, Sergio Moraes at $11,400, he's a little expensive. It's like we always talk about, and the classic example is Ronda Rousey.
You have to take Rousey.
She'll always be the most expensive player.
But
she
she's
always
worth
will
it.
be. But if you're the person who's like, oh, I'm just going to save some money on the back end. Well, you're giving up that 115 points, the guaranteed first round finish, 100 points, the couple strikes, the takedown she lands. You're giving it all away. And I don't want to be that person. So with Sergio Moraes, he's somebody that I would like to pay for. With Stasiak coming in still pricey, I'm not sure the finish is going to come. That doesn't mean it won't come. I just don't feel it coming. And for that reason, that's a pass for me.
So you're saying it's a lower percentage chance than what Sergio is going to do in terms of finishing off?
Exactly.
Are there any underdogs on this card that you can see winning?
In terms of people who, yes, straight betting line, it's like, okay, who may be able to pull this one out?
Yeah, but you see, we talk about finishes being so important, but when it comes to underdogs, actually going to decision is not a bad thing because you're just accumulating points along the way.
Yeah.
And for their price point, they're actually returning a lot of value. So are there any underdogs that can go the distance or potentially win?
Yes, 100%. And actually, this comes down to our friend Powell Paulak, who I put on my DraftKings team, $9,000. I thought this was a very good deal.
That's not even all that soft, though. I mean, 9,000 is still a lot.
It is. But if you look, and well, I'll just tell you my DraftKings lineup real here. I got Sergio for $11,300.
Okay.
I'm still able to get on Daniel Malonchuk, who I like, for $10,100.
Okay.
Now I take Stevie Ray, who just got sweet name.
From Harlem Heat? Booker T's brother?
Oh, buddy, how can Stevie Ray lose?
Does he get into the ring, give you the slapjack?
You really think you'd play that up a little bit? He's got a great name.
I looked at his picture. He's a white guy from Scotland.
Yeah.
He's not really going to play up that whole angle.
No, and he's a little guy, too. He's not particularly all that big.
So, but I mean, he's super cheap, though, right?
$10,300 on DraftKings.
Oh, so he's the favorite here. I'm looking for the wrong
on
one.
Countermove. A little bit expensive on DraftKings. Not so much on Countermove. $4,800 is not the end.
But he's on your DraftKings team anyway?
Yes, he's on my DraftKings team at $10,300. He was one of the few guys when I reanalyzed my team, I thought I can move him. I can move him strictly because he's very expensive. So if I take him out of my lineup, I can virtually afford anyone else or most people. Maybe I could put Gonzaga in there, but I can't because he's too expensive. So you're looking at all the people below Stevie Ray and what can I afford?
And just no interest, though?
And I kind of like Stevie Ray because I know that his opponent, Mauricio Bandel, I know he's good. I know that. But he's got knocked out in about 1 minute and 6 seconds in his last fight. So to me, it's like, okay, you're a grappler, you're a natural grappler. You like to kind of pull guys into your guard, and if you get hit, you could get knocked out. Stevie Ray has that same option. He can finish fights with knockout. He can finish fights with submission. I one time watched this guy win a one-night tournament where he fought 2 guys on the same night, beat both of them, including the second one by submission. So he's very well-versed. In fact, his last loss was in the 4th round. He got submitted. Well, great. This is only 3 rounds, so I don't have to worry about things like that. So Stevie Ray's a guy that I saw some value in. But if you want to just talk about value, he's expensive. And you can get Sergio, Stevie, and Danny, who are all over that $10,000 mark. You can fit them all in the same bill. Now with Gareth McClellan, who 9,200, we talked about DraftKings, that's a steal.
Yeah, it seems like that's where you have to have him in your lineup.
It's crazy. It's crazy when you look at one website values this guy as he's going to get the finish. He should get the finish, no doubt. We'll make him expensive. And one website values him as, well, we've got 10 guys that we think will score higher than him.
But here's the thing, though. When it comes to breaking all this down, I trust the experts who do the pricing at Kountermove more than I do at DraftKings.
Yes.
So it just seems
now,
odd.
let me explain this. Let me ask you this. Why is that?
Because they've been doing it for longer, for one thing.
Right.
Kountermove's just been around long. It seems like DraftKings kind of came in and saw the game, made a similar game, and they're just throwing prices out just to do it.
It's like how DraftKings said, well, we're not going to do live scoring for this event. Well, who does their third-party
I think it's Stats. Stats Inc. I believe it is.
And Stats Inc. not MMA guys? Like, what is it that makes you think? Because I always wonder this to yourself. I love MMA more than I love a newborn human child that's my own. I love it basically more than anything. But I would love to sit down and make the values for this. But then I think, well, who's the guy that really does it? Is he a massive fan or is he a stats guy?
He's a stats guy.
So you just look at past values?
No, I don't think. Listen, the guy who does the final pricing, I'm sure it's some sort of committee where they run it by everyone, but it'd probably be a guy like me and a guy like you in the room. I would look at all the numbers, run some sort of algorithm, and be like, all right, here's what they average, here's what you project against this type of fighter. You would look at it and be like, well, that's stupid because this guy's going to kill this guy. We need to adjust that pricing. See, I think it's a mix of both.
It makes
I'm
sense.
not sure. Maybe we'll get Christy Sullivan on. She can tell us how it works.
I would believe that's something very interesting to find out. And it gives you a little bit of insight as the person making your team on, well, how are they valuing it? So it's like when with the judge with the UFC. Sometimes at the end of the fight, you go, oh, wow, that's very clearly fighter A won that. But the judge goes, no, fighter B won that, because everyone sees things a little bit differently. So it's very interesting on how do they even come up with these values? I don't know. What I do know is that somebody underpriced Gareth McClellan at 90,200, so I'm going to take him.
Quickly run through your Kountermove team.
Kountermove team, we've got Sergio Moraes, 5,400, Daniel Omalanchuk, 4,900, Stevie Ray, 4,800, Seth Baczynski, 4,500, value in Ben at only 4,500, and then I went with Sheldon Westcott, 4,700, because if he pays off, he will get that first round finish.
And he'll score big if he scores, is what you're saying.
On the flip side, I put his opponent, Powell Pawlak, on my Kountermove team at 9,000.
To hedge, because that's a good value, too.
Yes, because either Sheldon's going to blow him out, and my Kountermove team's going to be doing great, or Sheldon's going to tire out, Powell will get the win, and that's looking good for my DraftKings team. You play a couple different lineups, you're going to
that's the thing.
them.
I would say if you're going to play multiple Kountermove lineups, you probably keep Westcott off the other one.
Yes. Oh, definitely.
You try to hit big with that one and then kind of hedge against it on one of the others.
If you're all in on him, you put him on all of them, and he wins, then you look like a genius. But if he loses, they're all done.
Your lineup shot.
They're all done.
Yeah, like you need to have a certain amount of equity on other players if you're going to play multiple lineups like that.
I've never seen somebody win a DraftKings or Kountermove team where they had one player that scored nothing and then everybody else did good. You kind of need everybody to contribute in their own ways.
Yeah, you need to have the 3 highest scorers and 2 guys that don't bomb.
Yeah, exactly.
Any interest in the women's fight? Jan Blachowicz versus Yimi. This is a women's fight.
This is a man's fight. Yeah. There's another female fight on the card. I thought that's what you were talking about.
I saw Jan. I was like, perfect. It's probably like Jan, isn't it?
You should have looked for the it is Jan. You should have gone like at Joanne Calderwood. That's a girl.
How do I know? It could be some crazy Polish name.
Joanne Calder was speaking for her. She could have some value. This girl is malicious. She throws knees and elbows with reckless abandon. The only thing to her is that I've watched her in fights absolutely carve people up, but not finish them. So she might score points with significant strikes, but like we always talk about, you want that actual finish. With Jan Blachowicz, Jimmy Manuwa, I like Jimmy Manuwa a lot here. This is a guy, at 35, he's getting a little old. He had no athletic background prior to starting fighting. Nothing. He just picked it up one day. The UFC offered him a contract like a year into his pro career, and he told them, I'm not really ready for the UFC. I want to develop more. Now that he's in the UFC, he should be a force to be reckoned with. He's coming off a broken foot, so he's slowing down a little bit. But Jan Blachowicz, hometown guy, that's what makes me nervous. I don't know if the hometown crowd's going to be with him. He's going to be fired up. As a betting man, the minus 150, I love it for Jimmy Manuwa. In terms of DraftKings and Kountermove, I wasn't sold on the odds for both of them.
Well, put it this way. Plus 135 is the odds for, was it Jan Blachowicz?
Jan Blachowicz.
4,100 on Kountermove. You could build a super team around him if he wins.
Most and the people that are KSW fans or Polish MMA fans, they are very big up in this guy. 18-3 record, has fought in some good guys. He should be, and coming off a big win over Ilir Latifi.
I think I might put him on my Kountermove team.
It's not a bad move. But the flip side to that is if Jimmy Manuwa blows him out and he has the capability of blowing him out, then your team's going to be hurting. You kind of want guys that even if they're going to lose, they're going to lose. As if we said with Raquel Pennington the time over Holly Holm. We knew she was going to lose. 100% this girl's going to lose. But she'll score some points in defeat.
And she was the cheapest player on the board.
With Jan Blachowicz, he could get just knocked out in the first round.
Okay.
So it's a little bit.
It's a bit riskier.
But you're right. For 4,100, if you're going to play multiple teams, definitely worth throwing him on one of them.
But I mean, it's weird to see on DraftKings where the separation between them is 10,000 and 9,400 on Kountermove. It's a bigger gap.
Yes.
On far less of your salary cap. It's really bizarre.
No, and that's why it takes a lot of configuring and a lot of just looking at the odds, looking at the lines, studying it up a little bit. Or someone like you who's more of a stats person, you can really look at the value and make a good team just based on value. And those teams, they have just as good as a shot as beating somebody who's...
Well, especially because I'm going to enter like six teams. So I'm going to hedge my bets a little bit.
Exactly.
Try to find that perfect combination. Cody Saftik, watch the Bookie Beatdown on Fantasy Sports Network and Fight Network. Fridays?
Yes.
Fridays. And check it out on the web, too. You can follow it on Twitter at Bookie_Beatdown. You can follow me at the PME. And remember, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Hour on iTunes for the audio version, YouTube for the video version. That's it. Pat Mayo. I'll see you next time.